understand trees with Mitchell Anton McEachern. This is his face. We all have a face, don't we? We have faces. So in today's episode, I'm going to introduce you to another indie artist whom I've met. His name's Luke Prosser. And he's got music on iTunes and Spotify and all those streaming platforms. And he makes very, I met a lot of musicians, but there's just something different about him. Like, he's got a very unique sound. He's a very beautiful guy. Like, his soul is so full. He's got the clearest eyes. He's gone through a lot of shit, and he sings beautifully about things that are just, they matter. Like faith and hope and the difficulties of addiction and trauma and stuff like that. So he's really worth looking at and listening to. And I'll tag him and all that jazz so that you can find him. On today's episode, I was thinking, am I making sure I'm looking at the right spot? There's the camera, good. I was thinking maybe the people who have watched my videos are like, why is he what is he talking about? Like, what's the point of these videos? Like, he's just recording himself thinking out loud about things. Well, I thought maybe this is a good idea to like kind of explain what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, because it's not I just assumed that you would know, and that's kind of unfair. And you can hear my dog barking, I'm sure. Blue, he's got one eye. It's an incredible story, incredible champion, that dog. So what I was going to explain to you is basically where all this is coming from and why I'm doing it. To answer the first question, where is it all coming from? I don't know. One thing I've always been good at since I was young is talking. I can talk a lot. I can't talk about nothing though, especially like the weather or like gossip or anything like that is very hard for me to talk about. I can talk about meaning and purpose and love and honesty and courage and all the, I think, important things. I can talk about those forever. Like, I don't even think that I haven't found anybody who can like outlast me in those things. And like, it's not even a competition. It's just like there's always more questions. And that's where it's coming from. It's coming from a place of like curiosity. I'm like, why do we have these concepts? Why do we have these ideas? Where do they come from? Like, you take something so simple as like telling the truth, like, but why? Like, why is it a good, like, when I was growing up, it's like, don't lie because that's bad. It's like, okay, well, why is it bad? Like, why do we want to tell the truth more than we lie? Like, a lot more, if not all the time. Like, why? Or other things like, your imagination. Like, what is that? Isn't it just shocking to you, if you think about it, that if you have this inner part of you that no one would ever know about unless you revealed it to you. And you can watch some of the more sophisticated animals like raccoons or cats or dogs and just look at them, and you can see that there's something going on, inside of their minds, so to speak. It's like, what is that? Like, what is your imagination? What is the imagination? I've always been fascinated with it. Did you ever play Imagination? Magination? That was a great card game. I had every card, I think. And, well, Ryan did. Ryan had every card. But, like, I had almost every card. And Ryan had all the core cards, because Ryan would do that. Ryan would buy everything. When something came out, he bought everything. He had to have all the things. What was I saying? Oh, so Imagination was a card game. Yeah, you could play that game. It was interactive imagination. But I like the name of the game, Magi Nation, with a hyphen in the middle, Magi-Nation. But it like, put those words together, imagination. Then all of a sudden you're like, imagination. Like, what's an imagination? This is a great game. Look it up. But what is an imagination? Like, right now you're looking at me, and you can see my body and my plaid shirt. This is my grandfather's shirt, which is pretty cool. some guy knocked me out with when I was wearing the shirt because I tried to hook up with his girlfriend. You shouldn't do that. I've done things I'm not proud of in my life. You know, I'm willing to. We shook hands after, made up. I was wrong. I was totally wrong in what I was doing, and I knew I was wrong the whole time, but I did it anyway. Why did I do it? Because I was drunk, and when I'm drunk, I'm very eager to have pleasure. You know, like I just love pleasure, especially when I'm drinking, and so I have a hard time controlling myself when I'm drunk, and that leads to like an excess amount of pleasure, and it's kind of not good. Sometimes I always wake up feeling like I have the worst hangovers, so I'm really trying to control my drinking from now on. But yeah, you see my body, you see my shirt, you're like, this guy has something else too that you can't see, and that's an imagination, or your thoughts, your inner aspect, right? Your inner felt experience, which we all have. If you got 10 people in a room, right? You got 10 people, all different backgrounds, ages, cultures, everything. Totally diverse background. Totally diverse. The most diverse background that has ever existed. Set them at a table and ask them all to be quiet for 1 minute. You could observe for 1 minute 10 different people all sharing one thing in common. That they have a mind, that they're thinking. Some of them will be thinking about, why am I waiting a minute? Some will be thinking about like what they have to do later. Some will be thinking about how nervous they are or whatever. But everybody will have something going on inside their minds. Everybody. Isn't it strange? Some people have more going on than others. But we all have at least some kind of inner aspect. And that inner aspect is what we call our imagination. We draw from our imagination. Like, you know, it's funny, we use the phrase draw from our imagination. You know, you draw, like this was painted by my friend, and she drew it first and then she painted it. That was her painting too. She painted that from her imagination. It wasn't a sketch or a copy or anything. She just, when she was 17, she just got this inspiration to paint, and that's what she painted. And it's like, how the hell did you do that? It's such a unique thing. And I think that this painting in particular is or like Joseph Bernard's photo. I mean, you just like, photography is a bit different than painting, but like if you think about it, like he just has an aesthetic, he has an idea, and he sees black and white as attractive or interesting, and so he makes photos like that. You know, it's like, what is doing that? If you really ask yourself the question, why am I the way I am? Do you have an answer? Like, are you your past? But what's a past? You know, like, are you the manifestation of the amalgamation of all the choices you've made up until now? But what's a choice? You know, like, how do we know who we are? How do we know who we are? You know, and like when you're talking to some people, like, I love people. Like, I couldn't love them more, and this is part of the reason why I want to make the videos, is because I want to engage with more people. I just want to meet everybody and just sit down and talk to everybody, ideally one-on-one, about their souls. I just think it's incredible. Like, you and I all share, I mean, I use it interchangeably, imagination and soul. Like, I really think they're the same thing. They come from the source, like, of all things, which is just, I don't know. First of all, I don't know. I'm going to put that out there. I don't know. And so, but I do love the experience of engaging with somebody else on an intimate level, like with imagination, and like, why do you do the things that you do the way you do them? Like, how coherently are you to yourself? How coherent are you to yourself? How much do you understand where your desires? Here's a question for you. You know how you're attracted to some people, right? Or some things? It's like, how did you come to become attracted to that? You know, like one interesting way of thinking about this is like, okay, so you can imagine a kid, right? And the kid looks at their mom and says, "Mom, why do you like red so much?" Because the mom's always wearing red. And the mom thinks for a second. She's like, "I don't know, sweetie. my mom always wore red. My mom always wore red, so I just liked it. I guess I like it because my mom liked it, and it passed down from her generation to my generation. And then the girl thinks for a second, well, I was like, why did grandma like red? And then the mom's like, I don't know, maybe because her mom liked red. And it's like, that's our best answer of like how you got to where you are. How did you get here? Like, think about it. Oh, I was here, my parents had a kid and that was me. But then they are people, so their parents would have had to have them. And then their parents would have had to have them. And then it's like, holy shit. We're like, who are we? Where do we come from? Why are we doing these things? I'm particularly, like, I wouldn't say frustrated, but upset at the lack of respect for these things, these questions. Like, yeah, I know, like, the stock market matters and economics matters and the first world and progress in modern medicine. All these things matter. They all matter. I'm not saying they don't matter. But I just don't think we engage with the soul enough anymore. I mean, social media is a wasteland, an absolute wasteland for people. They go there to die. We go on social media to die. You die on social media like you die in the desert. No one cares. No one even sees you. And you're utterly, utterly alone. It's not all bad, but I just critiquing social media as a wasteland because it's this incredible opportunity to really have meaningful conversations, that take time, not sound bites, not like little posts about like why this is what you should do today and here's some advice for Thursday and throwback Thursday and all that shit. It's like actually taking the time to flesh things out, because why the hell not? Why are we doing anything else? Why? Why are you watching Netflix? Why are you playing video games? I'm not saying Netflix or video games are bad, but why aren't you spending at least some of your day trying to understand how you got here? Because if you understand how you got here, maybe you'll have more control over where you're going. And that leads me to, like, why am I doing these videos? Because I want to have conversations that matter. That's it. Just meaningful conversations. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life. I don't know what you should do with your life. I have no idea what you should do with your life. But I still think it's important to question deeply who you are. And to do that on a regular basis, like a meditation or a routine exercise. Because otherwise, I think that the danger is that you forget. You forget that you are a lot more than what you think you are. And by that I mean, this is hard to say. We don't know who we are. We don't know where we came from. We don't know where we're going. So if you don't know who you are, you don't know where you came from, and you don't know where you're going, doesn't that strike you as an incredible opportunity to be who you want to be, go where you want to go, and leave the world with more information than before you were here? Like, I really think that's the point. The point of reality is to do what it wants. In the other video we talked about the CBT strategy of like disassociation. So like taking yourself out of yourself for a second to gain perspective on your situation, right? And you're like, okay, like, I'm really sad. So it's like, instead of saying I'm sad, you say Mitch is having the felt experience of being sad. And then you can be like, well, what is that? And you can have a conversation with yourself. But then I was like, well, what if we took it a step further and said reality? Instead of referring to yourself by your name, which is a bit egotistical, and I mean that in like the literal sense of the word, like not like ego, not narcissistic, but if you call yourself, if you go by your name, then you've been titled, and that's not who you really are. you know, I'm not saying that you shouldn't listen to your name, but it's just like you aren't your name, okay? And you aren't whatever your parents say you are. You're not what your school says you are. You aren't what your even your best friends. You are never who you are told to be, because they don't know who you are. And the people who tell you how to live your life are usually the ones who have the least amount of knowledge about how to live. And the reason they try to control you is because they're afraid of losing control of themselves and of the world. And unfortunately, they take a lot of things down with them as they scream their way to death. So if you call yourself reality and you say like, well, what do I want? You know, like if people like, what do you want to be when you grow up? You could say that. What does reality want to be when it grows up? Or you could ask yourself, like, you can be like, what do I want to do today? You could be like, what does reality want to do today? Do you know what I'm talking about? So instead of saying your name or saying I, say reality, because you are reality. You are the whole thing. The whole thing brought us here. We're just bits and pieces of the whole universe. So if you say like, I really like horseback riding, right? You could say reality really likes horseback riding. And then why would you deny reality do you know what I mean? Like, why would you deny reality? Like, and not only that, reality is so amoral. It's so above all of these human etiquettes that we've come up with. Like, oh, I can't be a horseback rider because X, Y, and Z. But no, reality made horseback riding so it could horseback ride. And if you have the desire to horseback ride, that's reality asking to be realized in that way. Reality wants to horseback ride. That's what it wants. So your job is to allow it. You know when we say allow yourself or become who you really are? That's what it means, I think. It means allowing reality to exist. You are the gatekeeper, so to speak. Like our organismic ego, our body experience, right? It's finite and it can be damaged, and so we try to protect it. But like if you think about it, you have this urge, you have this inner drive that's below and underneath all of the things that you take for granted, like your body and your heartbeat and your friends and your family and your experiences. It's below all of that, and it's going up through you, and you know it's there, and you stop it from getting out because you have reasons. And I'm not saying that the reasons aren't good. I'm not even saying, like, you could be like, well, what if I have a murderous urge? I'm like, no, like, obviously you don't hurt anything in the sense of like enacting violence on the world. I think violence is unfortunately violence is a byproduct of not letting yourself exist. So if you say, I want a horseback ride, and you consistently deny it, not only that, you have friends and family who also oppress you and push you back and say you can never be a horseback rider. You will fall into despair, and that despair might turn into violence because you can't do what you feel is right. You can't be truthful and honest with your experiences. And so you might act that violence out. Like, if you're having a bad day, this is as simple as if you're having a bad day, for some reason something happened in the morning that really ticked you off, the next person you see, even if you don't know them, you're going to hate them. Why? Because they're in your way. Because you're having a bad day. It has nothing to do with them. They're just there. You hate them because you had a bad day. That's violence. It has, like, murder is a thing because I don't think humans are allowed to be. And again, this is like a very sensitive subject. Obviously, I'm just speaking my mind here. I'm not going to say I know that this is the way murderous rage works, because it's a terrible thing, and nobody ever wants to have to experience trauma like that. But I don't think it's as simple as saying that they're bad people. They were children once. They were born like with murderous urges. I think that they were repressed. They were oppressed. They were damaged. They were hurt, terribly, terribly hurt by whomever was around them at the time. and they were hurt too in their past, and it goes all the way back. You know, there's a great line, let the evil that happens to you end with you, right? So that's how you break the cycle. That's how you stop the momentum of evil, is you stop it. And you stop it by not taking it out on the world, but by going into yourself and then realizing whatever is there. It requires effort and pain on your part. If you want to be a horseback rider and you're not a horseback rider right now, you're going to have to work towards that goal, which means you're going to have to take time and energy and risk in order to achieve that goal. But if reality wants to horseback ride and you help it, you achieve the goal. In some way, shape, or form, you will feel real and your life will improve. If you do not go down the road that you feel like you should be going down, for whatever reason, if you don't go down that road, you will feel lost your entire life and you will not know why. And that's basically why I make these videos. Because I've felt lost for so long. And the last little while of my life, I've been actively pursuing anxiety. I've been actively following my fears. Things that I want to say but I'm afraid to say, I say them. I try to say, look what I'm doing right now. I'm talking into the fucking camera, trying to share information with you, because in the past I was too afraid to talk about this stuff. Now I'm not. It's not that I'm not anxious at all. Like, I'm mildly anxious right now because this is not the easiest thing to do, but I'm letting it out. I'm letting reality realize itself. That's my job. I'm the conduit for some private felt experience and the greater cosmos working together to co-create existence. I think we make our world. I think we make our reality, and we make it through love, which is the consciously and willingly suffer for something. Reality is made through acts of love. And you can do that every day by consciously and willingly suffering instead of violence against the world. Just a thought. So that's why I make these videos. I'm trying, I don't know if they're helpful. I hope they're helpful. I don't even know I don't know who's listening. I would like to get involved in your lives if you want to talk about this stuff. If you're interested at all in thinking deeply, in asking questions, and trying to understand why things are the way they are, especially why we are the way we are, I am all ears and I want to talk to you. So hit me up and let's get down to it. Let's get through this shit and hopefully learn something along the way. So I'll stop there for today. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you like you wouldn't believe. And I'm looking forward to the next video. I don't know what it'll be about. I hope that you have a wonderful day. And I'm with you. I'm with you.